That we did promise to bring you a guest who is going to discuss with us the issue of the Kenya Information Communications Bill. Now, Parliament today failed to get a quorum of 233 members, which is what was needed to get a quorum let me get this straight. They failed to get a quorum of 233 members needed to overrule the president's memo. And with us here now is Henry Maina. Good evening, Henry.
Good evening.
Henry is from Article 19, which is an organization that basically fights for the right of for the freedom of expression.
Yes.
First question. What is the impact of MPs staying away from the House and failing to agree or rather to debate the issues at hand?
I think I do not agree with the fact that MPs stayed out of the House. I think we need to know that there was a House order paper going on, and there were a number of other legislative matters preceding the discussion of the Kenya Information and Communication Law. We would get to know that there were about 164 MPs in the House when they voted on the Statutes Laws Miscellaneous Amendment Bill. Then there was a motion to extend time from 6:30 onwards, which had 181 MPs voting. So yes, by the time the discussion on the Kenya Information and Communication Amendment Bill came in, there may have not been 233 MPs in the House. But that was only to the extent that if the House was going to reject the president's recommendations in total, that if the House were to accept the president's recommendation, they just needed a simple majority in the House. Though, of course, discussions had indicated that there wasn't anything illegal the president did in returning the bill to the House. In fact, what the president had done using Article 115 was to recognize the cries of the media stakeholders that the law that was passed in the House was unconstitutional. The law that was passed in the House was not as progressive as a democratic state that Kenya wants to be. So the fact that the president returned it to the House, I think for us that was a good thing. He had listened to stakeholders. The only challenge that existed is that then the president in a way overreached his own mandate. He gave recommendations, some of them that did not cure the malady he purported to want to cure. Like he said, we needed to do away with government control in the tribunal that was being created. And by removing the cabinet secretary from being the appointing authority, he gave himself the power to appoint. That meant he had not dealt with that issue sufficiently. So that's what is a concern. And I'm of the opinion that it is important that we give Parliament considered time tomorrow for them to go through this matter. In the event that they are not able to sufficiently discuss it, I think Parliament would extend time.
Now, let's go to the scenarios that might unfold tomorrow when the bill is tabled back to Parliament. Now, we might have enough numbers to overrule the president's memo, or there might not be enough numbers, or there might be enough numbers to overrule the president's memo, or have enough numbers of members who are not willing to overturn this memo. What are the impacts of these scenarios?
I think one thing is for us to remember that the laws touching on Article 34 of the Constitution are expected to have been passed by end of August this year. So Parliament sought an extension for 4 months, meaning that those laws must be passed by end of December. But in the event that they are not able to be passed by end of this session, because Parliament will close to go on recess, then Parliament would have an obligation to file a clear legislative calendar showing when they will do it. And if it is done in good faith, there will be no problem. But the second thing that is possible is that Parliament tomorrow would say they are not adjourning as we thought, and they would extend to have another week or two to discuss these matters. So let's not be preemptive that we are going to have anarchy. I think the idea is that Parliament today, I think in all good faith, discharged itself on its mandate well, and showed that they are the sole body that have legislative powers, and that they would not be directed by any other party to make decisions that are unconstitutional and are not as progressive as the constitution of the country.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too.
All right. So we'll of course be looking at that story as the bill gets back to Parliament tomorrow. Let's now